Greetings, viewers. The Manchester Deanery of the Mothers Union in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands is resolute in our stance against gender-based violence. Welcome to our observance of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. We invite you to view a play entitled Old Testament Stories Continue, Gender-Based Violence. Hear our cry. The play focuses on violence against women and girls using stories from the Old Testament as the foundation to examine and discuss gender-based violence in today's society. We hope that those watching this play will be motivated to seek solutions to this pandemic of gender-based violence which is plaguing our women and girls. The play is written by Dr. Nolma Agard. The cast consists of 5 characters. Dr. Irene, a psychologist, played by Leslie Smith. Madge, a victim who is 40 years old, played by Alison Nickel. Olive, a mother of a 15-year-old victim, played by Maureen Tomlinson. Shirley, the community leader, played by Ione Rutherford. And Lorraine, a church sister, played by Patricia Green Wilkins. The skit takes place at a community meeting being held on the Zoom platform. Let us join them.
Ladies, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I have asked Dr. Irene to be with us this evening as we focus on gender-based violence, which is plaguing our community, country, and the world in general.
Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you for sisters. Gender-based violence is centuries old, and it is affecting women and girls worldwide. I would like us to begin by looking at some of the violent stories that affected women in the Old Testament.
The Bible, but God created us all equal in his own image. So what does the Bible have to do with the abuse of women?
Yes, sisters, God did. But after Adam and Eve committed sin, things changed.
Yes, things really changed, but how?
Well, in Genesis 3, verse 16, God told Eve, "Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." With that, male dominance started. Men began to show their power and no longer saw their female companions as their equal as God had planned.
It started with Lamech in Genesis chapter 4, verses 19 to 24. He was the 7th generation of Adam and great-great-great-grandson of Cain. He started polygamy. He voiced threats of violence, abuse, and taunts to his wives because he was a powerful and evil man.
Yes, gender-based violence starts from the abuse of power and what some men consider the inequality of the female gender and misinterpretation of the Bible on the part of many.
There's so many forms of gender-based violence: physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, economic abuse, coercion, and manipulation.
Yes, it all started with powerful men in the Old Testament, some less obvious than others. Abraham used manipulation and coercion so that Sarai could tell the Egyptian that she was his sister. Her marriage to Pharaoh must have caused her psychological and emotional stress. How many females are coerced and manipulated in our society? And I dare say many are young girls, most often by family members.
Many times parents know about the abuse of their daughters and keep silent. They
True.
also know who the abusers are.
They are like Dinah and Tamar of the Old Testament.
Dinah and Tamar, who are they?
Yes, we read in Genesis chapter 34 how Dinah, daughter of Jacob by his wife Leah, was raped by Shechem, son of Hamor.
What? So what happened? What did Jacob and Leah do?
Nothing. Long and short of the story, Shechem wanted to marry her, but her brothers Simeon and Levi tricked the family into circumcision, and then the entire family was killed.
Oh, Lord. Hold on a minute. You know, I have a daughter who was raped by her father's best friend. When she told us the bastard wanted to marry her, can you imagine? My husband almost killed him. A 35-year-old man raped a 15-year-old girl and then wants to marry her. Anything can go like that?
Similar to Dinah. What did you do? Who is your daughter now?
What did I do? My husband held a gun on him and called the police. The neighbors came and they ganged him and they were ready to kill him.
And your daughter?
Oh, it was traumatic. It was embarrassing. It was really a guilt-stricken time for her. Can you imagine? She used to call that man uncle. She missed school for many, many months because of him. Well, praise the Lord, she's now 21 years old. The man is in prison, of course. And my daughter is now at university and she's studying social work.
Thank you, Jesus. She wants to help others. But what about this Tamar story? Who was she and what happened to her?
This happened in King David's family. It was an incestuous race between Tamar and Amnon, David's daughter and son. Tamar was Amnon's half-sister. Amnon pretended to be ill and asked his father David to send Tamar to prepare a meal for him and even feed him. Then and there, in his room, he violated her.
Poor girl.
Oh my God! What did the family do?
David did nothing. When Absalom discovered what had happened to his sister, he told her to be silent about it, and she was shielded from society, a shameful, violated young woman. A feud developed between Amnon and Absalom. Absalom eventually murdered Amnon.
That's right.
Sisters, these are just a few of the Old Testament stories dealing with gender violence.
Sisters, I can associate with Tamar's story. I am a victim of incestuous rape and physical abuse.
Mm.
From I was 14, I was constantly sexually assaulted by my uncle.
Oh,
I kept
Lord.
telling my mother, but she never believed me. Eventually, she caught him in the act when I was 16.
So what did she do? Was he arrested? Did you get counseling?
She blamed me. Cursed our brother for a while, told him to leave the house. I was told not to tell anyone. She said she didn't want to bring any shame and disgrace on the family. Oh, how I hate her.
Mm. She wasn't thinking about you at all. So you had to endure that for 2 years. And you have to be living with that ever since. How could your mother do that? She did nothing.
Well, my dear, that was the least of my problems. I left home at 18, got married at 19 to a 30-year-old Christian man. Everything was good for 14 years, and then the abuse started.
There are so many Dinah and Tamar out there. What happened? Why did he start the domestic abuse?
Well, we were Christians, so we used to go to church every Sunday. He
Sunday
even
Christian.
sang on the choir. But out of the blues, he just became so jealous for no reason at all.
He just became jealous. Why? And jealous of whom?
Sister, if a church brother smiled at me or complimented me on how I looked, it became the bone of contention when we got home.
Mm.
Every Friday or Saturday, he would do something. I guess it was a reminder for me not to smile or talk to any man at church.
You're a
Weren't
slave.
you implemented before?
But of course, and he was so happy in the early days when his church brothers did. Oh my God. No, if I smile at them, talk to them, to him, I'm flirting. We have a son and a daughter. They used to call his friends uncles. He told them not to call them so. When the children asked why, he said they're not your uncles. My dear, things get from bad to worse. He started hitting me even in front of the children, and he would shout at them.
Well, from what you said earlier, he's 11 years older than you. Is it that he fears he's going to lose you to someone else?
Did you ever ask him why he started behaving like that?
Doc, you can't ask that the man did nothing. Ask him, me dear crazy. He called me names, said I was a slut. And that's why my uncle raped me, because I threw myself at him.
Wow, you told him you were raped?
Yes, he asked me to marry him, and I did not want to enter into a marriage with a secret like that. So I told him. He told me that I'm not to worry about it. It was all behind us, and he would help me to work through it.
Oh, my dear sister, I'm so sorry to hear. Did you seek counseling? Have you spoken to any of your church sisters?
Oh my God, sister. One of my church sisters saw me one day and just asked me if something was wrong because I started dressing differently and not talking much. She even said she was worried about me.
What do you mean by dressing differently?
Well, he started to select my clothes, There were some long dress with some very long sleeve and some high neck. I guess he did not want anybody to see the signs of physical abuse on me. And guess
Turn it
what?
to
He
Muslim.
wanted me to even look less attractive.
So what did you tell your church sister? And did you dress like that when you were going to work?
Well, I told her, I think the Lord wanted me to dress differently for his ministry. I don't think she believed me though,
I
because
will believe
plenty
you.
times I see them talking, and anytime they see me come in, they would stop talking. And yes, I had was to dress that way for work also.
You know, sisters, many of us know the signs of domestic abuse. They may have wanted to help. So you suffered verbal abuse, physical abuse, control, emotional and psychological abuse. For how long? And when and how did it stop?
Oh, dear, it went on for 4 years. The beatings became worse on mountain payday. When he come home demanding my salary, and I would give it to him. The children would cry and plead with him to stop hitting me. He stopped giving me money by then. So you can just imagine my little salary have to buy food, pay the bills, give the children lunch money and bus fare.
That, sister, is economic abuse. So how did it stop if you did not seek counseling from church or from anywhere else?
My children, them not easy, no, me dear. And them take things enough for them own hand.
The children, what did they do? Did they report it to the police? Did they tell the priest?
None of that, my dear, none of that. I did not know what they were planning. It was a payday evening. They came home, said, "Good evening, Mommy." And Roy, my son, said, "Mom, I'm going to help Julie with her mathematics homework." They disappeared all afternoon, and I didn't even hear a peep out of them.
Hi, they went to make their plans. Good for them, man.
That's what I come to realize later, my dear. I was in the kitchen when my husband came home. This man not even said good afternoon. He just demanded my pay, my hard-earned pay.
Can
Of
you
course, I told
imagine?
him I didn't have it. He started to verbally and physically abuse me. Huh? Honey, I don't know where the children came from with
Yes.
belt and stick, but all I know, they start batter him and said, "Mommy, run, run, mommy, run."
What? They were brave. What did you do? Did you join them?
No, I begged them to stop. Oh God, but they overpowered him, knocked him to the floor, and give him a good piece of beating, you see?
Yes.
Good for them. Gave him a dose of his own medicine. However, that was not a wise thing to do. How old are they?
Well, Roy was 17 and Judy was 15. When they finished beating him, them said to him, "Now you know how mommy feel." My dear, I was shocked. I couldn't even say a word.
What? What did they do?
Well, he just got up and leave the house. It was a Friday evening. We never saw him all weekend. My God, it was such a peaceful weekend. He came back 6 a.m. this Monday morning, knocking on the front door. When my son see him, he didn't even let him in. I had was to plead with him to let him in.
Wow.
Well, him come inside, stood at the front door and said he wants to talk with us.
So he came back penitent.
Yes, my dear, very apologetic. Said he was sorry and he didn't know what has gotten into him. Confessed that his father was an abuser who used to abuse both him and his mother. That is why his mother had was to divorce his father. So you need to check out why people divorce before you get in with them.
True. Hey.
Him now asked me not to divorce him, that he had promised himself never, ever, ever to abuse any woman or child. He begged me to take him back, and the children had taught him a lesson. And now he understood what I have been going through over the years. I told him I would take him back, but he would definitely have to do some counseling.
Good for you. Did he go?
He went just for a short while. I finally divorced him now. You notice I don't have any long sleeve.
Yeah.
There you go, girl.
You know, sisters, one of the main problems with domestic abuse is that men see their wives and girlfriends as property. They wanted them to be submissive to them. They used only a part of Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 to 23, and 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 11 to 12. Wives must be submissive to their husbands as the Lord, for he is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church.
Let a woman learn in silence with all submissiveness.
Mm.
No woman should have authority over a man. That is preached so often in church. Many preachers ignore the section. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Husbands ought to love their wives as their own body. He who loves his wife loves himself.
True word. Abusive men, are you listening? Do you love yourselves? Every time you lift a hand to hit your partner or open your mouth to use abusive words to her, you just stop and ask yourself, do I love myself? Would I want someone to treat me like that?
Exactly.
Sisters, many of the abusers today were abused yesterday. Abuse is not inheritable. It is learned behavior. Madge said her husband confessed that he and his mother were abused. He learned to be an abuser from his father.
Yes.
We must be aware also, sisters, that there are many boys and men who have been abused by women and men. Many are
True.
afraid to come forward to speak, mainly because they are ashamed. It may not be as popular as female abuse, but it does happen.
True.
We also need to remember, that there are some females who abuse other females, mothers who abuse their daughters and sons, daughters who abuse their elderly mothers, grandmothers, and grandfathers.
And a lot of abuse also happening in households where there are domestic helpers. Many are raped by the husbands and the sons within the home. And you know something? The wives and the mothers know, and send them away.
Some are abused by the mistresses of the home. Going back to the Old Testament, the story of Sarai and Hagar.
Oh, yes. Hagar was used and then rejected. She suffered verbal abuse, emotional and psychological abuse, and then abandonment at the hand of Sarai after Sarah herself became pregnant for her husband.
But you know what I cannot understand though, is why when the angel of God saw her crying and depressed in the wilderness, fearing for her son that he would die, he told her to return to Sarai and to submit herself to her mistress.
Remember, ladies, God is all-knowing. Because the Lord saw something Hagar could not see. He could have seen that greater danger await her in Egypt, and that returning to Sarai and Abram was the lesser of the two evils. Plus, he had a plan for her son.
Sisters, does that not sound familiar? For isn't that the same advice many pastors give to wives who have been abused? That for the sake of their marriage vows and the children, they should not leave the abusive husbands. For better or worse is the quote that many use.
Sisters, I think we have come to a point where we need to examine why abused women stay with their abusers and why some mothers keep silent about the abuse of their daughters.
Licky.
Those outside the abuse situation, it might seem easy, but it is not as easy as we think. There are many reasons why victims stay.
Victims find it shameful and difficult to talk about their abuse, especially rape victims and those who suffer abuse from their spouse.
Some mothers, when their daughters are raped, they keep silent for economic reasons. Many abused wives stay for the same reason. They're totally dependent on their spouse. Some do not work, while others don't earn enough to take care of themselves and the children, so they stay.
Many women are embarrassed and would rather stay in the situation than let their family members and friends know.
And one of the major things is many are fearful to leave because they have been threatened, and they and their children will be killed. Some have low self-esteem. They have listened often to their partners, telling them that they are worthless, no good, and that they are ugly, and no other man would want them. so they are afraid to move on.
Oh, sisters, some say because the children are so attached to their fathers and they fear that the separation will cause emotional damage to their children.
True. Some spouses are so deeply in love with their abusers and still hoping that they can transform them. Others
Never.
believe their spouse love them while they abuse them. As after they become apologetic, shower them with gifts and tell them how much they are loved.
You believe it? But one woman actually told me that her husband loves her. That is why he beats her. She has a warped concept of love.
It's true.
Some say because of their church and faith. They do not want to offend God. They took a marriage vow before God.
Marriage vow. But didn't the man take the same vow? The same go to love and to cherish his wife? You know, at the heart of our faith, man and woman are equal. They are created equal. And women need to learn this.
Yeah.
But you know, sisters, the Old Testament stories speak of humanity falling out with God and with each others. Boy, it offers some truly troubling depictions of abuse of the female gender.
That's true. Sisters, have you noticed that when the Old Testament prophets want to talk about the sins of Israel and Judah, they use female personification? They are called whores, are often stripped naked. They are raped. The marriage between Uzziah and Gomer, though it may be metaphorical, is an extremely violent one.
Well, ladies, I cannot help wondering if with all those images of violence towards the female gender in the Old Testament, can we really have an end to gender-based violence?
Hard to say.
Sisters, there are many Dinahs, Tamars, Hagars, and Gomars out there. Some are survivors. Some are still going through the pain, hurt, and shame. Many are hurt by those who should protect them. I am appealing to you, sisters, to speak up. Let your voices be heard.
Ladies, let's not lose hope. We must remember that the advent of Jesus changed all that happened in Hebrew time. His view of women in the New Testament is considered revolutionary compared with the Old Testament. The value of women is equal to that of men. He had respect for every woman, from the Samaritan woman to the woman caught in adultery to the woman with the issue of blood. He spoke gentle to each of them. They were not abused or condemned. He spoke gentle to them. We need to teach our men about the value and respect for women, using the life and teachings of Jesus as example. He valued their prayers, their worth and work, their witness and their financial support. He did not see women as subservient to men.
Well, the question is, how do we as Christian women help our sisters? I want to suggest that we have regular Bible studies with men, women, boys, and the girls. We need to examine the Old Testament stories, discuss them in the light of what is happening today, what views they have. How do our males feel about these stories? How do they view these passages in their relationship with their partners? How can they influence their peers to respect and protect women from violence?
Parents, guardians, especially mothers and grandmothers, aunties, am pleading with you this evening. Listen to our girls. We must believe them when they tell us things, and we need to counsel them. It is our responsibility to protect them.
Well said, sisters. We need to learn the signs of various types of abuse and reach out to someone who we think needs our help.
True.
We need Christ-like men to stand with us as we fight this pandemic, which is hurting our women and girls. We need to plan and implement psychosocial workshops with various groups, both male and female groups.
We need to give support to shelters for abused women and girls. We need to establish survivors group in churches and in the communities.
Amen to that.
National survey in Jamaica, done 2018, reveals that 1 in every 4 women in Jamaica experience intimate partner violence. Christian men, rise up. Hear our cry.
Christian men, rise up, hear our cry.
Hear our cry.
Hear our cry.
Christian men, rise up, hear our cry.